So these are some Lethal Company mods that will truly blow your minds, from new terrifying entities with extremely unique features to ways for you to deal with monsters without using any weapons. So let's get into it. For the very first mod, this is the Val Vending Machine mod. This mod adds a new entity which is called the Val Vending Machine and 2 new scrap items which we'll talk about later. But starting with the entity, it has a chance to spawn at various places, sometimes near fire exits and other times somewhere near indoor and outdoor. It resembles a vending machine-like feature which isn't an aggressive sort of enemy, well, at least not until you're too greedy. Because you see, it will not chase you down or kill you like any other enemy. Instead, it actually gives you the opportunity to trade almost any scrap items for a company cola, which is worth quite some money to sell. However, do be careful, as being too greedy and trading too many times will come at a high risk, because it has a chance to grab you, killing you and turning you into a company cola instead, so do be warned. The 2 new scrap items are of course the company cola and the Val Vending Machine plushie, which is a cute small addition to your scrap findings. It makes a squeaky sound upon picking it up and dropping onto the ground. And if you're wondering, no, you can't kill it as it is practically invulnerable. So yeah, a pretty cool addition to add some spice into your risky gameplay. This mod requires everyone in your lobby to install it for it to work. Now up next, there is a new way for you to handle monsters if you don't have any weapons on you. This is the Lethal Hands mod. This mod allows you to fight back enemies with the use of your fist instead. No more are you needing to rely on weapons anymore, in case you've forgotten to buy them or just want to punch stuff in the face. After installing this mod, pressing the J button on your keyboard will make your character square up. The custom animation is pretty spot on, just like when you're in a boxing ring. During the squaring up stance, you'll be able to start punching things. By clicking the left mouse button, your character will punch with the left hand, and right clicking will punch with the right hand. Do note that pressing both hands together will only use the first hand that you clicked on, so you can't do stuff like punching with both hands together. Also, scanning will be disabled while squaring up, as the right click is now tied to the right punch. Now, one thing to note is that all items you are carrying will drop on the ground upon squaring up, so I would suggest using this as a last resort. The damage from the punch is actually pretty decent by default. As a comparison, it takes around 5 punches to kill something like a bunker spider. The range of the punch by default sits somewhere in the middle between a shovel and a knife. Damage also sits somewhere between for balancing purposes. Now, you can only throw out 1 punch every second, but this mod features a pretty nice config setting for you to tweak it to your heart's content. Things that can be tweaked are the range of your punch, the cooldown between each punches, the damage of the punch, whether punches should hit attached monsters like tulip snakes, how stamina affects the punches, whether all items should be dropped upon squaring up, and whether you can hold items while punching. So yeah, a lot of customization for you to tweak if you so wish to. Now, climbing up ladders while squaring up will also remove the stance upon exiting the ladder. You can also manually go out of the boxing stance by pressing the J button again. Overall, a very unique and non-intrusive mod that adds so much to the gameplay. This mod is a client-sided mod, so it only works for you after installing it. Now for the next mod. This is the LC Gold Scrap mod. This mod adds in 30 new rare gold versions of scraps that comes with a great risk and an even greater reward. These gold variants are extremely valuable, effectively doubling the selling price compared to its non-golden counterpart. However, they do come with 2 small side effects that could prove to be difficult to deal with. First of all, the weight of the golden variants are at least 1.5 times heavier, which means 50% heavier than usual. This means that they are worthwhile to take, but it can be a hassle to bring back to the ship, especially if you are already reached the overweight mark. Secondly, these golden variants are more prone to getting struck by lightning, so especially during stormy weathers, be very careful in handling them as they are extremely conductive to electricity. These scraps are not just carbon copies as well, as you you get special new ones like monster statues and even a super blinding golden flashlight that just works. So yeah, go ahead and download this mod if you want to have the feeling of finding higher rarity loot. This mod requires everyone in the server to install it for it to work. And for a really cool entity mod, this is the SCP-966 mod, otherwise known as the Sleep Killer. Now, based on the SCP Foundation source, SCP-966 harnesses the ability to make its victim lose the ability to enter the REM stage of sleep, which is the necessity during a sleeping phase for any creature to fully rest up the body. This will cause anyone affected by this entity to have a serious case of insomnia to hallucinations, stress, and paranoia, which will eventually lead to getting killed by SCP-966, hence the name Sleep Killer. How this gets translated into Lethal Company through this mod is pretty impressive overall. First of all, this monster cannot be seen by the naked eye, and I'll explain why later. There are only two ways for anyone to see it. The first way is to use a night vision goggle from the late game upgrade mod, which is a separate mod that adds massive new features and items to the game. This is because our human eyes can only see things that are within 400 to 700 nanometers in the visible light spectrum. SCP-966 lies around 900 nanometers. This is why purchasing the night vision is the best way to see it in full view. If you don't want to install a separate mod for it, well, there is a second way to see this entity, and that is by scanning. Scanning it will give the player a quick glimpse of SCP-966 before going invisible once more. This is a much easier solution, but it can be much more limiting and terrifying than owning a night vision, so the choice is entirely up to you. Now I'm gonna explain how this mod works, but if you don't want any spoilers and want to experience firsthand, go ahead and skip to this time frame on the screen right now. But if you want to know how this mod functions, let's begin. So SCP-966 has 3 phases in total. The first phase is the roaming phase. It will go around until it detects a player, and if the player's stamina is above 10, it will enter the tearing phase, and if their stamina is below 10, it will enter the chasing phase instead. Now the tearing phase is sort of like a stalking phase, where it just follows you behind without you actually knowing, but you just feel something ain't right, because while in this phase, SCP-966 will add 52 pounds onto your existing weight, which makes almost anyone become immediately overweight. This is to mimic the idea that you are having insomnia and the lack of stamina left. It is highly recommended to not overdo yourself and try to keep your stamina over 20% though. Otherwise, going less than 20% will force SCP-966 to enter the chasing phase. While in the chasing phase, this is where it will kill you. It will finally hunt the player down until they are dead or leave the building. After killing the player, it will revert back to the roaming phase and restart the phase once more. Now I also want to mention that while it is difficult for the player to actually see this entity, whoever is at the ship can actually see SCP-966 on the radar as a red dot. So if you really want to be safe, make sure that one player is always looking at the radar monitor. And don't worry, as you can kill it if you have the right weapons before it kills you. Its dead body also works the same way, as you can only see it via night vision or by scanning. So this is actually a really cool thought that is placed into this mod. But anyways, this mod has a lot of thought placed into it, all thanks to the team behind the SCP project. If you want to check out more SCP projects by them that are coming out for Lethal Company, their Discord link is in the description. I would highly suggest for you to head over there and check it out for yourselves, as they are seriously cooking up a bunch of really cool things there. Anyway, this mod is server-sided, so everyone in your lobby needs to install it for it to work.